Hello YouTube, welcome to my shop. I'm Mike Hedden and this is Round 2 Woodworks, and I appreciate you stopping by. You know, last week I did a video on this Rockler Taper Jig, table leg taper jig, and there was something that I failed to mention, and I thought it was important enough for some that I should do a quick update on it. I think it's interesting to everybody, but to some it's probably pretty important. When I saw this, I went over to Rockler and watched this exact jig being demonstrated. This is what happened in that event. There's about 5 of us around the table. Now the jig was identical to this, except somebody had either not put the handle on or removed the handle. But the jig was identical to this. So the manager was there, running through a leg, and it was going beautifully. And there's about 5 of us standing around the table, and all of a sudden, pow! And I mean, you could all tell we were all woodworkers, because there was 5 people like this with their hands behind their ears, going, "What the heck just happened?" You know, and this is what happened. The jig has a tape measure on both ends, and when he was pushing through, his hand was touching this tape measure, and even though the blade's not touching it, it's zero clearance, it was close enough to set that saw stop break off. And I gotta say, I was impressed. I was impressed with saw stop, and I don't work for anybody, or I don't sell for anybody, but I'll tell you what, if somebody gave me a saw stop, I'd take it, because that thing really works. Now, if it stops you from cutting off your fingers, that's a beautiful thing. And even though when that thing went, it was $70 for the brake, and it was $100 for the new Freud blade, that $170 is well worth your fingers, 10 times that. But to just be running something through and setting that sucker off by accident, that sucks. That's $170 suck. So I just wanted to share with you people with saw stops. I wouldn't even put this tape measure on. I mean, even if you were running through and your arm touched it, it could set it off. So I would either mark it with Sharpie, or, the best yet, if you wanted it 1 inch over, measure 1 inch over. But that's why I wanted to explain what happened. I'd hate to see anybody set up their saw stop for nothing. And other than the little blocks that I had to glue in there because my table saw cut off the groove, I find that any tool that is easy to use, easy to adjust, stays adjusted, it's accurate, I call that a good tool. So I'm calling this a good tool. If you're doing multiple legs, well worth it. I guess for the handy guys, it'd probably be pretty easy to make, but for some reason I don't know why I don't like to make too many jigs, like a tenon jig or something like that. So it's well worth the investment for me. So anyway, now the other thing that I have to admit to, and I mean, I really hate to admit to this, when I was doing the table legs, I resawed some babinga. I had a nice piece of babinga, about 5 foot tall. It was 7/4 thick and about 4 3/4, just a little under 5 inches wide. So I decided to resaw it on the table saw. So, you know, that was fine, you know, but I knew that my blade was dull. Starting it, and Babinga is very hard. So when it started off, you know, it looked something like this. But by the time it finished, it looked something like this. Now, boy, that's called wood abuse in anybody's book. I mean, the wood police would be after me. You know, when I saw that blade starting to slow down and starting to smoke, I should have just stopped, put on a new blade, and kept going. Now, this isn't so bad because, you know, it's supposed to go something like this. You know, something like that. So, you know, on this side, I could just take my Stanley 40 and just scrub this off real quick, take a jack plane and number 5 and whack it down to semi-smooth. And, you know, this will be the inside, so it's not going to be the glam side. So, you know, I watching the old woodworking shows, you find out one thing, that even in the old days, the things that didn't show was either done quickly or done with cheaper wood. So that part really doesn't bother me so much. I can clean this up. What bothers me on this, and it's my stupidity that's bothering me, is that when I resawed this wood, helicopters going by real low. This picks up sounds like crazy. I can hear dogs barking 3 houses down. I don't notice it when I'm in the shop. So anyway, I resawed the wood to be the apron. And normally, anytime, you know, from 7th grade, you learn that you may put a straight edge on it with the table saw, and then you make everything S4S, square on 4 sides. You know, that's just the way it is. Well, I didn't want to rip this off because this was under 5 inches anyway, and I didn't want to take that much off, because I knew ripping it would be at least 1/8 of an inch, maybe 3/16 of an inch. And I figured, well, with a hand plane, I could, you know, make it nice without having to take any more wood off in the width, because I wanted every inch I could. Because as I say, I was measuring right at a little over 4 3/4 inches. So that was my plan, you know. But you know, I don't know what your shop is to you, but this is kind of how my shop is to me. And this has been the way it's been since, like, I've been in my 20s. You know, you have, you know, kid problems and boss problems and spouse problems and ex problems and oh God, you come dragging into your wood shop, you know, and when I was in automobiles, it doesn't matter what your hobby is, and you drag in, and, you know, about an hour later, yes sir, I think that's going to be just fine. Yeah, that's going to work good. I think maybe I'll go fix myself a plate of supper and see if a good ball game's on. You know, and that's how my shop is to me. So when I run into my shop away from frustration, and I find frustration, boy, that's a bad day in Heddensville, I'm telling you. And I really found some frustration with this Babinga. I had it planned, a nice, beautiful apron around it, until, I don't know if you can see this. This is, look at the difference in links. that 5-foot board was almost 7/8 inch shorter from the start of it to the bottom of it. Now, if I'd have run it through the table, so I'd have known it in an instant. But even worse, if I'd have measured both ends, I would have known it in an instant. And since I didn't measure both ends and I cut this, now I've got a pile of scrap wood that's useless. Maybe I can resaw, make a jewelry box or something, or I could cut it down to everything's even, so I could make a even apron. I mean, if I use this right now, that theory of square, level, and plumb would be laughed at in wooddom. So this is my stupidity made a real waste, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm either going to make a smaller apron and no drawer, but I wanted a drawer. Well, I got some red oak over there I could use. I really didn't want to use red oak and maple. I've got some walnut over there I may use, but I wanted that for something else. So it comes down to my stupidity has put me in a bind that I don't know what I'm going to do. I know I really can't use this being, unless I make it all the same. And this is just this is like frustrating. Days like this, I want to head off to Dodger Stadium, So if your team's in town and you look up in the way up in the left field pavilion, you see a guy out there with his feet over the next seat and spread out like he's numb to the world. That'd be me. But I think Chavez Ravine by 7-inning stretch will have me out of my wooddom gloom and sing and take me out to the ball game as loud as anybody. So that's what I want to say on my resaw fail. Number one, use a sharp blade. Take it from experience that I didn't. And number two, measure both ends. I mean, that'll save you a lot of grief. And if you see me at the ball game, I may even have one of those $13 beers in my hand, because why not? I just wasted $60 of Babinga. Oh, Dodger Stadium, here I come. Thanks, YouTube. Have a good day.